The single biggest theme in global semiconductors in 2026 is, without question, the memory chip supercycle. This is not the familiar 3 to 4 year boom-bust pattern driven by consumer electronics. This cycle is being powered by AI large language models, compute servers, and autonomous driving, generating exponential demand for memory. Supply and demand remain in persistent tight balance, and prices for DRAM, NAND, and HBM are in a sustained uptrend. The global memory market has long been dominated by 3 companies: Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron. Among them, SK Hynix has pulled off a stunning reversal through its HBM high-bandwidth memory technology, capturing more than 57% of the global HBM market and becoming the exclusive core supplier of memory for NVIDIA's AI chips. In 2025, SK Hynix's operating profit historically surpassed Samsung Electronics for the first time, completing a full reversal of industry standing. This piece will walk through the global memory industry landscape in full, trace SK Hynix's development history, production footprint, and core competitive strengths, and then across 3 dimensions of upstream equipment and materials, midstream packaging and testing, and downstream distribution, modules, and companion chips, provide a complete and thorough mapping of every A-share listed company in China with deep ties to SK Hynix. Each segment's partnership logic, products supplied, and earnings leverage will be clearly broken down, with nothing left out. Part 1. The Global Memory Chip Industry. A once in 20 years AI Supercycle. Section 1.1. Market Scale Explosion. Demand logic fundamentally rewritten. The global memory chip market reached approximately $211.6 billion in 2025, up 28% year-over-year. TrendForce forecasts that total 2026 market output will break $300 billion, a year-over-year increase of more than 40%, with the memory sector accounting for over 40% of total global semiconductor revenue. The 2 core product categories have diverged completely, and the industry's underlying logic has been fully transformed. DRAM, dynamic RAM. Traditional PC and smartphone demand is stable, but compute servers and AI accelerator cards have become the primary growth engine. The supply demand gap for 2026 is approximately 8%. DDR5 and HBM have become the high-value core products, with contract prices rising nearly 100% in the first quarter alone. A single AI compute server consumes more than 10 times the DRAM of a traditional server. NAND flash, enterprise SSDs, automotive storage, and local AI storage are driving demand. The full-year supply-demand gap is approximately 5%. 3D NAND layer counts continue to push past 600 layers. Large capacity storage chip prices keep climbing, and industrial-grade and automotive-grade flash carries a significant premium. In past memory cycles, volumes were driven by smartphone and PC shipments, producing clear cyclical swings. Today, global large model token call volume is doubling every 3 to 4 months. AI compute demand has fundamentally rewritten the industry's logic. The memory industry has officially transitioned from cyclical trading to long-term capacity expansion growth. Section 1.2. Global supply monopoly. 3 giants, Hynix takes the lead on HBM. Global memory manufacturing is highly concentrated, with both DRAM and NAND displaying oligopoly structures and extremely high barriers to entry. DRAM market. Samsung approximately 42%, SK Hynix approximately 30%, Micron approximately 22%, 3 companies accounting for 94% of global capacity. The structure is highly entrenched. NAND market. Samsung approximately 34%, SK Hynix approximately 22%, Micron approximately 16%, Yangtze Memory Technologies approximately 18%. SK Hynix is firmly the world's second-largest NAND manufacturer. High-end HBM for AI core applications. SK Hynix holds 57 to 58% of market share, firmly the global leader, with deep exclusive ties to NVIDIA's full lineup of high-end GPUs. Samsung sits in second place. Micron's share has continued to shrink, and Micron has reportedly been excluded from NVIDIA's next-generation Rubin platform as a core supplier. SK Hynix's HBM leadership is irreplaceable in the near term. Supply-side gaps will not ease quickly. All three major original manufacturers significantly increased capital expenditure in 2026, but advanced semiconductor equipment lead times run 18 to 24 months. New effective capacity won't come online until the second half of 2027. For all of 2026, memory prices will remain elevated, and companies across the supply chain will continue to benefit from simultaneous volume and price gains. Section 1.3 Domestic Chinese memory accelerating its breakthrough. China's Yangtze Memory Technologies and Changshan Memory Technologies continue advancing their technology and steadily ramping 12-inch wafer capacity. The domestic memory substitution process is accelerating. At the same time, domestic Chinese suppliers of memory materials, equipment, and packaging and testing services have continued breaking through technical barriers, completing batch qualification with international giants including SK Hynix, Samsung, and Micron. This creates a dual growth thesis: domestic substitution plus supply chain partnership with global leaders. China's A-share memory supply chain companies are entering a sustained period of earnings delivery. Part 2, SK Hynix, Full Development History, Production Footprint, and Core Competitive Strength. Section 2.1 From near bankruptcy to the undisputed AI memory leader. 1983, Origins. Hyundai Group establishes Hyundai Electronics, entering the DRAM race and launching Korea's memory chip self-sufficiency drive alongside Samsung. 1999, Independence. LG Semiconductor is acquired, the company separates from Hyundai Group, officially renames itself Hynix Semiconductor, and focuses exclusively on memory chip development and manufacturing. 2012, capital restructuring. Weighed down by $14 billion in debt from a combination of industry downturn and operating difficulties, the company comes near bankruptcy. SK Group completes a full acquisition. The company is renamed SK Hynix, and a new chapter begins. 2014 to 2022, countercyclical positioning through multiple years of industry downturns. SK Hynix continues investing aggressively in HBM research and development. IT also establishes two major 12-inch wafer production bases in Wuxi and Chongqing, China, building a global mass production system. 2023 to present. Full realization of AI dividends. HBM demand explodes. SK Hynix secures multi-year exclusive technology partnership and supply agreements with NVIDIA. In 2025, SK Hynix's full-year operating profit reaches 47.21 trillion Korean won, historically surpassing Samsung Electronics and completing a full reversal of global memory industry standing. Section 2.2, for global production bases. SK Hynix operates on a dual-core model: Korea for core R&D, China for mass production support. 4 high-end fabs form an integrated system of research, production, and iteration. Korea, Ishan and Cheongju facilities, global R&D headquarters and core technology iteration base, focused on HBM3E, HBM4, HBM5, and 1 beta nanometer advanced DRAM research and production, handling global high-end AI memory chip manufacturing. Jiangsu Wuxi facility, the world's largest DRAM mass production base, with monthly capacity exceeding 500,000 wafers, focused on mainstream DDR5 and server DRAM chips. IT is supported by the dedicated joint venture packaging and testing facility Hynix Semiconductor, and serves as a core pillar of SK Hynix's global capacity. Chongqing facility, focused on 3D NAND flash manufacturing, targeting large-capacity consumer-grade and enterprise-grade flash for automotive, industrial, and cloud storage markets. AT Computex 2026, SK Hynix officially announced plans to double wafer capacity within 5 years, with core capital expenditure concentrated entirely on HBM high-end production lines, prioritizing HBM3E, HBM4, and the next-generation HBM5 mass production. The company also pledged continued investment in its Wuxi and Chongqing China bases, directly driving explosive growth in orders across China's domestic supply chain ecosystem. Section 2.3. Core competitive moat HBM technology as an exclusive barrier. Technical supremacy. SK Hynix was first globally to achieve HBM3E at scale. HBM4 mass production will land by the end of 2026. Its proprietary 16-layer DRAM stacking process is mature. The product leads competitors on bandwidth, power, efficiency, and yield. Deep binding with top-tier customers, SK Hynix has signed multi-year exclusive technology partnership and supply agreements with NVIDIA, with high-end HBM products dedicated to NVIDIA's full AI GPU lineup. IT also supplies AMD, Google, Meta, and the world's leading cloud providers on a stable basis. Customer barriers are extremely high. Mature localization supply chain. Over a decade of deep China market cultivation, with a complete ecosystem of domestic materials, equipment, and packaging and testing suppliers. Domestically certified vendors are given purchasing priority, substantially lowering manufacturing costs. Forward-looking capacity planning. SK Hynix anticipated the AI memory long-cycle shortage trend and continued expanding capacity countercyclically. Its 5-year capacity doubling plan locks in a leading share. Advantage for the next 3 to 5 years. Part 3. The most complete guide available, full SK Hynix supply chain and all related A-share listed companies. The SK Hynix supply chain is divided into 5 major segments: upstream core materials, upstream semiconductor equipment, midstream packaging and testing, downstream distribution, modules, and companion chips, and facility support services. Every A-share listed company that has passed SK Hynix certification is supplying in volume, or has a long-term partnership is covered here. No omissions, with each company's partnership model, core products, and investment thesis broken down individually. Segment 1. Upstream core semiconductor materials. High barriers, long certification cycles, locked-in orders. Core beneficiaries of HBM capacity expansion. Semiconductor materials are continuously consumed in wafer manufacturing. Certification cycles run 2 to 3 years, and once inside a supply chain, relationships are long and stable. As HBM stacking layers increase, per unit material consumption doubles directly. This is the highest certainty and highest leverage segment of this entire expansion cycle. Company 1, YARK Science and Technology, ticker 002409, Absolute Core HBM Materials leader. SK Hynix's global core strategic materials supplier, with industry-leading depth of partnership. Subsidiary UP Chemical is the sole exclusive supplier of HBM3E, HBM4, and HBM5 ALD dielectric layer precursors, with supply orders locked in through 2027. Products are directly used in the core processes of high-end AI memory manufacturing. The company also supplies SK Hynix's Wuxi DRAM and Chongqing NAND production lines at volume for multiple years. HBM-related revenues account for over 35% of the semiconductor division. The company is also tied to Samsung and Micron, creating a dual logic resonance. Company 2, Huahai Chunka, ticker 688535, core HBM high-end packaging materials. One of the rare domestic companies achieving volume production of HBM-grade granular molding compound, GMC, has completed the full verification process for SK Hynix HBM4 and is supplying in volume. GMC is an indispensable thermal filling material for high-end HBM packaging, compatible with high-stack and high-compute AI memory chips. Domestic substitution potential is enormous, fully benefits from SK Hynix. HBM capacity expansion. Company 3, Jiangfeng Electronics, ticker 300,666, core high-purity metal sputtering target supplier. Leading supplier of high-purity sputtering targets. Tungsten, aluminum, and titanium targets are supplied at volume to SK Hynix's Wuxi DRAM production lines. HBM advanced processes require substantially higher purity, flatness, and precision from targets. The company continues to penetrate SK Hynix's high-end lines with growing order volumes. Company 4, Fakai Materials, ticker 300398, packaging and photolithography materials, dual coverage liquid molding compound, thick film photoresist, and EMC encapsulation materials are supplied in volume to SK Hynix DRAM and the full HBM product line. Products are compatible with automotive-grade and high-end AI memory chip packaging requirements. The company is a well-established consumable supplier within SK Hynix's supply chain. Company 5, Union Remar New Materials, ticker 688300, core HBM packaging filler. The company's low-alpha spherical silica powder is a core filling material for HBM packaging. Products enter the SK Hynix global supply chain through Japanese distribution channels at volume. Global market share ranks among the industry leaders, compatible with the low radiation, high stability packaging requirements of high-end memory chips. Company 6, Yishatong, ticker 688733, high-end thermal powder supplier. Leading manufacturer of spherical aluminum oxide powder, a required thermal management material for HBM packaging. Indirectly serves SK Hynix's upstream and downstream packaging partners, deeply benefiting from the high-end HBM capacity expansion wave. Company 7, Xingfu Electronics, ticker 688545, direct SK Hynix shareholding plus wet electronic chemicals leader. A rare A-share company in which SK Hynix holds a direct equity stake, the deepest possible binding relationship. High-purity wet electronic chemicals and ultra-pure reagents are supplied at volume for SK Hynix wafer cleaning and etching processes. The company is SK Hynix's core domestic wet chemicals supplier, with extremely stable order visibility. Electronic specialty gases subsegment essential consumables for memory manufacturing. Company 8, Huate Gas, ticker 688268. Multiple fluorine-based specialty gases and photolithography gases have passed global SK Hynix certification, covering core wafer etching and thin film deposition processes, the only specialty gas company in China supplying SK Hynix at volume. Company 9, Jinhong Gas, ticker 688106. Bulk industrial gases and high-end specialty mixed gases are stably supplied to SK Hynix's Wuxi and Chongqing facilities, providing foundational gas support for wafer mass production. Company 10, CSSC Special Gas, ticker 688146. High-purity arsine, phosphine, and other semiconductor-dedicated specialty gases have entered the SK Hynix qualified supplier list, compatible with advanced memory chip manufacturing processes. Segment 2. Upstream semiconductor equipment orders realized first in any expansion, front-loaded essential demand for new facility construction. SK Hynix's 5-year capacity doubling plan is being executed. Approximately 70% of capital expenditure is concentrated in semiconductor equipment procurement. Domestic Chinese inspection, cleaning, high-purity process, and coating and developing equipment manufacturers continue to win large incremental orders. Company 1, Saitun Shares, ticker 603283, core HBM inspection equipment. Following the acquisition of Japan's Optima, the company has entered the high-end wafer defect inspection equipment space and become a core equipment supplier for SK Hynix's HBM stacked structure inspection. IT also covers Samsung's HBM production lines. Sustained SK Hynix capacity expansion directly drives volume equipment procurement. Earnings leverage is substantial. Company 2, Zhichuan Technology, ticker 603690. Wet cleaning equipment supplier. Proprietary high-purity wet cleaning equipment and high-purity fluid systems have successfully entered SK Hynix's Wuxi base. This is a core essential front-end equipment category for memory wafer manufacturing, compatible with full DRAM and HBM process cleaning requirements. Company 3, Zhengfan Technology, ticker 688596. High-purity process systems leader. High-purity process fluid systems deeply support SK Hynix's HBM expansion lines. The company's proprietary 6N grade high-purity electronic specialty gases are also supplied in parallel to SK Hynix's DRAM lines. A dual business partnership binding both equipment and materials. Company 4, Xinyuan Micro, ticker 688,037, coating and developing equipment. Independently developed coating and developing equipment is fully compatible with HBM bonding and stacking processes. Already deployed in volume on SK Hynix's advanced memory production lines. One of the rare domestic front-end equipment manufacturers to have completed SK Hynix verification. Segment 3, Midstream packaging and testing. Deepest binding, most stable orders, joint venture and outsourced dual system. Structure packaging and testing represents the most deeply bound segment of SK Hynix's domestic supply chain. IT comprises two types: exclusive joint venture facilities and high-end outsourced packaging partners. Long-term framework agreements lock in orders, profit stability is extremely high, and both types directly benefit from the high-end HBM packaging increment. Company 1, Taiji Industry, ticker 600,667, absolute core, equity-level binding, deepest industry partnership. Subsidiary High-Tai Semiconductor, in which Taiji Industry holds 55% and SK Hynix holds 45%, is SK Hynix's sole dedicated DRAM and HBM packaging and testing base in China. The bilateral cooperation agreement has been renewed through 2030. The facility handles over 70% of SK Hynix's Wuxi factory packaging and testing volume and 40 to 50% of SK Hynix's global memory backend packaging. SK Hynix orders account for over 90% of High-Tai Semiconductor's revenue. The company has achieved stable volume HBM3E production and is simultaneously handling HBM4 and HBM5 sample orders. IT has mastered 16-layer ultra-high stack DRAM packaging technology. Operating under a cost-plus model, earnings have zero volatility and near absolute certainty. Company 2, JCET Group, ticker 600584, global packaging and testing leader, primary HBM advanced packaging partner. The world's third largest and China's largest packaging and testing company, advanced 2.5D and 3D packaging technology is industry-leading. TSV stacking yield exceeds 98.5%. JCET is SK Hynix's core overflow packaging partner for high-end HBM. Its Hefei base has established a dedicated HBM packaging line, with HBM3E packaging orders already in volume. The company is also participating in SK Hynix's next-generation HBM5 packaging verification. Company 3, Tongfu Microelectronics, ticker 002156, long-term agreement HBM partner, a core domestic advanced packaging manufacturer. The company has signed a long-term HBM3 and HBM3E packaging framework agreement with SK Hynix. Its 2.5D and 3D stacking processes are compatible with AI high-end memory chip packaging requirements. The company continues to absorb SK Hynix's overflow high-end packaging orders. Company 4, Shunka Technology, ticker 000021, core outsourced DRAM and HBM packaging and testing partner. Subsidiary Pydon Technology has a complete full process packaging and testing line covering DRAM, NAND, and HBM. IT is an important domestic outsourced packaging and testing base for SK Hynix. HBM3 packaging yield is industry-leading. The company has specifically reserved high-end capacity to absorb SK Hynix's expansion volume. Segment 4, Downstream distribution, modules, and companion chips. Highest earnings leverage, direct beneficiaries of price increases and volume growth. Downstream companies interface directly with SK Hynix's original memory chips, spanning chip distribution, memory modules, and memory interface companion chips. They are direct beneficiaries of memory price inflation and AI compute demand explosion, with the highest revenue and gross margin leverage. Company 1, Shannon Xinchuang, ticker 300,475, SK Hynix's exclusive mainland China core distributor. the core first-tier authorized distributor of SK Hynix in mainland China, exclusively distributing HBM and DDR5 high-end AI memory chips. The purest SK Hynix distribution play in the A-share market. The company has co-established a joint venture with SK Hynix Haipu Storage, targeting the enterprise SSD business. Downstream coverage spans Alibaba, Tencent, ByteDance, and China's other leading cloud providers. Dual tailwind of memory price increases and volume doubling. Among the highest earnings. Leverage in the industry for 2026. Company 2, Montage Technology, ticker 688008. Core DRAM companion chip leader, global absolute leader in DDR5 memory interface chips. One of the top 3 core companion chip suppliers for SK Hynix DRAM modules. AI server memory expansion and increasing DDR5 penetration directly drive sustained volume growth for the company's companion chips. Company 3, Yachuang Electronics, ticker 301,099. SK Hynix Tier 2 Core Distributor. A subsidiary holds official SK Hynix second-tier distributor certification. Primary business is distribution of SK Hynix's full HBM, DRAM, and NAND product range. End markets cover consumer electronics, industrial controls, and automotive electronics. Fully benefits from the memory industry's strong cycle. Company 4, Zhongbo Dragon, ticker 301,308. Enterprise storage module manufacturer, China's leading memory module company, with the Lexar International brand and the 4C Industrial brand. Enterprise SSDs and industrial storage products extensively use SK Hynix original memory chips. Customers include AI server and cloud storage providers. Benefits from both memory chip price increases and inventory revaluation. Company 5, Baiwei Storage, ticker 688,525. High-end storage module partner focused on high-end consumer-grade and industrial-grade memory modules. Core raw materials sourced from SK Hynix original chips. Products cover AI edge devices, automotive storage, and server storage tied into the SK Hynix supply chain. Dividend segment 5, facility cleanroom, support engineering, and consumables. Front-loaded beneficiaries of factory construction and capacity expansion. These companies provide core support for SK Hynix's domestic facility construction and production line operations. They are front-loaded essential plays on any capacity expansion cycle. Every new production line build generates large incremental orders. Company 1, Xinlai Applied Materials, ticker 300,260. High-purity fluid system consumables. Core supplier of high-purity gas, liquid, and vacuum pipes, valves, and fittings. Comprehensively supports new production line construction at SK Hynix's Wuxi and Chongqing facilities. An essential consumable in any semiconductor fab build-out, with significant localization sourcing advantages. Company 2, Chuangyuan Technology, ticker 000551. Cleanroom Systems support subsidiary Jiangsu Sujing supplies SK Hynix's domestic facilities with complete cleanroom equipment, air purification systems, and industrial dust removal equipment. The company has deeply participated in multiple rounds of SK Hynix facility expansion. Company 3, Baicheng Shares, ticker 601,133. Facility cleanroom engineering leader, long-term contractor for SK Hynix's domestic facility cleanroom engineering, vac systems, and facility support system projects. Any new production line requires this company's engineering services first. Expansion order certainty is extremely high. Part 4, Core Investment Thesis Summary for the SK Hynix Supply Chain. Short-term thesis: 0 to 1 year, volume and price rising simultaneously. Earnings delivering rapidly. Memory prices remain elevated throughout 2026. With SK Hynix setting new records on revenue and profit. Domestic capacity expansion pace is accelerating, directly driving batch order realization across upstream materials and equipment, midstream packaging and testing, and downstream distribution companies. Sector-wide earnings are concentrating into a delivery window. Medium-term thesis, 1 to 3 years. Capacity doubling. Domestic substitution deepening. SK Hynix's 5-year capacity doubling plan is advancing steadily. HBM4 and HBM5 next-generation technologies are iterating continuously. Domestic A-share suppliers, having undergone long qualification cycles, are steadily increasing their supply share, realizing the dual growth of serving a global leader and capturing domestic substitution. Long-term thesis, 3 to 5 years. AI as structural demand. Industry growth profile reshaped. Large-scale AI compute deployment has become the core trend of global technology development. HBM, as an essential component of AI hardware, faces continuously expanding demand. SK Hynix will maintain its global HBM leadership position over the long term. Domestic companies deeply embedded in its supply chain will continue to enjoy the sustained dividends of global compute infrastructure build-out. Core risk factors. A concentrated release of global memory new capacity causing price correction, geopolitical tensions and export policy restrictions, a slowdown in downstream AI company capital expenditure, a cyclical downturn in the semiconductor industry. Next generation technology iteration falling short of expectations. Part 5. SK Hynix's investment in Kioxia, the greatest private equity windfall in semiconductor history. As Kioxia's stock price has continued to surge, SK Hynix, one of its early investors, is now sitting on an extraordinary return from a 2018 investment. According to reports, SK Hynix is expected to realize approximately 40 trillion Korean won, roughly $26.46 billion, in gains from Bain Capital's divestiture of Kioxia shares. Additionally, SK Hynix still holds 14 to 15% of Kioxia in the form of convertible bonds, with an estimated value of approximately 790 billion Japanese yen, or around $49.2 billion, based on Kioxia's current market capitalization. Kioxia is the world's third-largest NAND flash manufacturer, spun out of Toshiba's memory semiconductor division. This investment is widely regarded as one of the most profitable private equity transactions in history. The starting point, 3.9 trillion Korean won in 2018. 2018, Toshiba sold its memory chip business under financial duress to consortium led by U.S. private equity firm Bain Capital, comprising Korean, American, and Japanese entities. Acquired the business and held approximately 56% of Kioxia, then called Toshiba Memory. SK Hynix participated in that consortium. Reports indicate SK Hynix's total investment was approximately 3.9 trillion Korean won, or around $29 to $30 billion, structured in two parts. Approximately 266 billion Japanese yen invested into Bain's fund, representing a 19% share of the consortium's roughly 56% stake, and approximately 129 billion Japanese yen in convertible bonds, which upon conversion would represent approximately 14 to 15% of Kioxia's equity. The path to recovering that investment was far from smooth. Kioxia's IPO was repeatedly delayed after the acquisition, leaving the consortium unable to exit for an extended period. Making matters worse, the supply glut of 2023 further compressed industry valuations, and SK Hynix recorded an impairment loss of 1.7 trillion Korean won, approximately $1.2 billion, on its Kioxia investment that year. The book value of SK Hynix's Kioxia stake tells the story in full. From 3.916 trillion Korean won in 2018, it rose to 6.3475 trillion in 2021. Then fell back to 3.6402 trillion in 2023, a dramatic journey. The contrast with where Kioxia stands today is stark. Kioxia surges up more than 5,000% since listing. The turnaround from recorded losses to an enormous unrealized gain came from Kioxia's explosive stock performance. Kioxia went public on the Tokyo Stock Exchange at the end of 2024 at an Issue price of 1,455 Japanese yen per share. Reports indicate Kioxia's stock has risen more than 5,000% since listing, with year-to-date gains alone of approximately 700%. That performance pushed Kioxia's market capitalization past Toyota's on June 12, 2026, making it Japan's most valuable listed company. The driver behind Kioxia's surge is the explosive demand for NAND flash from AI data centers. As AI inference demand has skyrocketed, NAND supply has tightened, enterprise SSD prices have risen sharply, and Kioxia, the world's third-largest NAND manufacturer, has seen both its earnings and its valuation soar in step. Kioxia is expected to reach consolidated operating profit of approximately 7 trillion Japanese yen in fiscal year 2027 ending March 2027, 8 times the prior fiscal year's level. How SK Hynix is realizing its gains. An entity within the consortium, BCPE Pangaea Kaiman 1A, sold a total of 33.49 million Kioxia shares in 3 tranches through off-exchange transactions. 11.7 million shares, 2.14%, on April 16, 3.27 million shares, 0.6%, on June 4, and 18.52 million shares, 3.39%, on June 11. The June 11 transaction settled on June 15 through physical delivery, reducing that entity's stake from 3.99% to 0. This is consistent with prior divestiture activity. Bain Capital reportedly sold 36 million Kioxia shares in an off-exchange transaction on November 25, 2025, and sold another 39 million shares, 7% of equity, in 2 tranches on May 17 and 19, raising $3.5 billion and reducing its total holding from 44% to 37%. These staged divestitures represent the consortium's gradual investment recovery following Kioxia's listing. As a consortium member, SK Hynix receives its corresponding profit distributions through this process. The profit allocation structure within the consortium is contractual and complex, but given Kioxia's soaring market capitalization, the gains flowing to SK Hynix from this divestiture process are substantial. Reported figures put SK Hynix's expected gain from Bain's share sales at approximately 40 trillion Korean won, roughly $26.46 billion. Remaining stake, 14 to 15% held in convertible bonds. Beyond the gains already being realized, SK Hynix still holds a large position. The remaining 14 to 15% Kioxia equity held in convertible bond form is valued at approximately 790 billion Japanese yen, or around $49.2 billion, based on Kioxia's current market capitalization. In total, SK Hynix's return from this investment approximately $26.5 billion in realized gains, plus approximately $49.2 billion in remaining position value, exceeds $75 billion in aggregate, against an original investment of approximately $3 billion. In terms of shareholding structure, the entity currently holding Kioxia ordinary shares within the consortium is BCPE Pangaea Kaiman 2, Limited, with 77.4 million shares. This is understood to represent SK Hynix's equity interest. After the divesting Bain entity reduced its position to 0, SK Hynix's remaining exposure is primarily held through this vehicle. That said, there are still some restrictions and uncertainties around SK Hynix's handling of this stake. Reports indicate Kioxia has capped SK Hynix's voting rights at 15% through 2028. And according to a January 2026 securities filing, SK Hynix is weighing options that include exiting, increasing its stake, or maintaining its current position, with no final decision yet announced. Strategic considerations, financial investment or strategic partner. From a strategic perspective, SK Group Chairman Choi Taiwan stated in a 2024 interview with the Nikkei that he views Kioxia not purely as a financial investment but potentially as a strategic partner as well, a signal that SK Hynix's interest may go beyond financial returns alone. But increasing the stake faces regulatory obstacles. A Breakingview's analysis notes that any move by SK Hynix to raise its Kioxia holding could draw regulatory scrutiny, since SK Hynix and Kioxia together already account for roughly 1/3 of the global NAND market. Further binding between two of the industry's largest NAND players could raise serious antitrust concerns. There is also the question of SK Hynix's own NAND positioning. The company reportedly completed its acquisition of Intel's NAND business last year, already establishing a meaningful presence in data center SSDs. Any strategic value Kioxia might offer needs to be assessed against the backdrop of SK Hynix's own existing NAND footprint across the entire history of global semiconductor investment. It is hard to find a more dramatic case than this one. What began as a Korean financial investment into a Japanese storage company traveled through acquisition turbulence, multiple failed IPO attempts, and $1 billion impairment loss at the bottom of an industry cycle, only to emerge on the other side, in the midst of an AI-driven NAND supercycle, as a super asset valued at over $75 billion. IT has produced what may be the greatest profit realized in private equity history, and it has placed SK Hynix at a genuine strategic crossroads. Kioxia is now Japan's most valuable chip company, meeting SK Hynix at the very top of the global NAND market. The question before SK Hynix is a significant one: press forward and increase the stake despite antitrust risk, or take the win and exit at the top? The choice between exit, advance, and hold is no longer just about financial returns. IT is about the future shape of the global memory market and where the industry's power centers will sit.